of a... Cracking a cold one open with the boys. By cold one, I mean Mountain Dew, Baja Blast, not sponsored. What's going on, guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a fun video. It's going to be a Q and split. Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't talk. There's no words that are going to come out that are functioning. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A, and I have not done one of these in a hot minute, so I asked you guys on Twitter for some questions. Sorry, YouTube community page. You guys will have your turn next time. Okay, so let's go into the first question. We have 8 questions. I think one of them is a 2-parter. I don't remember. I took these questions like a week and a half ago. Now for the questions today, we're primarily going to be going into Souls and Souls-like stuff as well as journalism. So expect this to go well. First question comes from Chaotically Writing, and they ask, what got you started in gaming? What made you decide to stream and become a gaming journalist? Thank you so much for the question. Now, as for what started me in gaming, I've spoken about this before, but for those of you who do not know, I started in gaming when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and the very first game I ever played was Resident Evil 1 Remake. You know that? It's a fun little indie title. You guys might have heard of it. That's when I knew, like, oh shit, I love this. What's really cool to me is that as I got older, I got to see the progression of storytelling, and I got to see how more it was utilized in the medium of gaming. It was really, really cool. So yeah, what got me started in gaming was Resident Evil 1 Remake. And what made me decide to stream and become a gaming journalist? So the game that made me want to become a journalist was back in 2018. I reviewed The Evil Within for a website that I was freelancing at, and that made me fall in love with gaming journalism. It made me fall in love with so much more of the industry. Now, the thing that I did not foresee was a lot of us getting as hated as we are. So I did not experience the first Gamergate, but going through this one, my God. But yeah, The Evil Within was the game that made me want to become a journalist. When I started to write that game, I really fell in love with the process of reviewing a game and reviewing all the bits and pieces that it had, the psychology. The psychology was actually the main reason why I wanted to review it, because I thought, okay, I have a psych degree. I might as well utilize it in video games and reviews and when I'm discussing them. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. That was a pretty cool one. So the next question comes from the Dreaded Girl Boss. Thank you so much for the question. And they ask me, where have all the Cowboys gone? Pretty sure that fits into one of those categories. Why not? I mean, you know, the Cowboys, I only know of one cowboy, and, you know, it's fighting cowboy. But where have all the Cowboys gone? I don't know. I think they're still stuck in Red Dead Redemption 2 somewhere. But they have their actual question in the next tweet. They said, fine, legit question. I'm debating saving up for a new uber awesome PC now that I got a new job. If that works out, debating on the GPUs. So AMD or Nvidia. I've always been more Nvidia, but I hear some of the newer AMD stuff is pretty good. Okay, so it's actually kind of... I feel awkward answering this because I'm a Geforce girly. What's really interesting about this question is that I switched from AMD to Geforce. I have the Geforce 3060 now. So I would highly recommend Geforce, but AMD I used for about 4 years. So I mean, AMD is absolutely incredible depending on the one that you get. But the one that I would recommend right now is the Geforce 3060. It is it's amazing. Chef's kiss. So next question up comes from our very own moderator, Peter. Peter, thank you so much for asking the question, dude. Really appreciate it. And he asks, out of all the Soulsy and Souls-like bosses, which one haunts your nightmares? One that will make you break out in a cold sweat at the thought of facing them again. Smo Ornstein. That has to be right at the top of my list is Smo and Ornstein. But another one that was particularly... it was fun, but not in the way that is like, ooh, wow, I'm gonna go in here and have actual fun. No, this was like grueling, to be quite honest. Was the gargoyle boss battle in Dark Souls 2. That was like, it was such a cool throwback to the first game, but also one of the most annoying bosses ever. It's interesting because I utilized an NPC for that boss battle, and had I gone in alone, it would have been 10 times more annoying. I'm trying to think of another one, but there's still actually a handful of bosses that I have yet to fight in the Soul series. But yeah, those are the two that come to mind. Even though Smo and Ornstein, I absolutely love that boss battle, and it taught me resilience. It taught me mental fortitude and strength when it comes to these games. It is not a boss I will go up against again and say like, yeah, let's do this. Let's get it over with, please, so I can get to Torius. The next question comes from Dark Lord Jones. Thank you so much for the question. They ask, how do you feel your playstyle has evolved from your first Souls-like game to now? So it has just evolved in what, 3 years that I've been playing? Let's see, 2021. Yeah, 3 years, because I started playing Souls games in the summer of 2021. And I finished most of them, not all of them. I finished probably, I'd say 80% of the Souls games in a little under a year because I just wanted to go through all of them. Listen, I'm addicted to these games. They're just so much fun. And they're so like, they're challenging, and the challenge is what makes me love them so much. So I would have to say from my first Souls game that I played, which was Dark Souls Remastered, up until the most recent one that I played, Lords of the Fallen, which is a Souls-like, I now go into Souls and Souls-like games already thinking, okay, is the hitbox going to be huge, or is it going to be tiny? Is it going to be a boss where I have to dodge a lot, or can I, afford to cheese this boss and stay in a corner while the NPC does all the work? Like, there's so many strategies that I think about now in terms of how I'm going to fight a boss versus how I used to think, which was, okay, let me just go in there and try to wing it. Now, when I go into a boss battle, I think about the strategy, and I think about what method I'm going to use in order to take the boss down. Which is great. I never thought it would get to that point, because going through Sekiro, which that's not a Souls-like game, but it's one of the most difficult games. It taught me how to go into Souls and Souls-like games and think, okay, I'm going to stand back and I'm going to see what the boss does and what movements it makes before I even go in. And I'm going to actually die a few times to see what its critical hits are and see what kind of blows that it makes whenever it's not doing a critical hit. So there's so many different variations of movesets that bosses have, but along the line, like there is a baseline of just similar movesets that, especially in like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, that bosses will have that are just generic movesets. Next question comes from that boy Queese, and he asks, how does it feel to be one of the greatest people I know? Well, you know what? I think that can be articulated in the best way by utilizing this clip.
You ready?
You kidding? I was born ready.
Wait.
Feels pretty good to be one of the best people you know, I'm not gonna lie. Thank you so much for the adorable question, Queese. I appreciate you. This next question comes from Joel? Hi, Joel. And he asks, if you were to write a book, what would be its subject? Funny you should ask that, Joel. For those of you who have been around the channel since its inception in 2016, a lot of you know that I have been working on a book called Patient Name Erica, because I've been thinking about a new one, and I've been thinking about the process of, I really want to write a novella or a novel. I really want to be able to do some story writing. Even if it's a short story, I want to be able to flesh something out and put something creatively pen to paper. And I have a working title. It's probably not going to be the finalized title, because whenever you're revising and doing all sorts of stuff with a book, you tend to switch your titles up a lot, quite frequently. Or at least maybe that's just my experience. I don't know about any other writers out there who are like going through publishing a book or anything, but from my experience, you tend to switch out the title a lot. But the title I have currently is One Last Breath. Now, the book itself is a horror book, but it does have crime and thriller elements in it. So I'll be really intrigued to see what you guys think. I'm almost done writing the first chapter right now, and I need to get more headway on it. But yeah, I'm currently in the process of writing a full gosh darn book. So we have now a few questions from iGood Apollo. I really appreciate the questions. Thank you so much for asking them. And he asks, what made you want to get into journalism? How did it meet your expectations? So this is a really good question. What made me want to get into journalism was, like I said before, the game, The Evil Within. The Evil Within, hands down. I also saw people who were in the industry like Gene Park, and I always thought, gosh, I really want to write like that. I want to be able to write something that conveys meaning and conveys strength and has just this overall essence of empowering people to be able to make better purchasing decisions. But so many writers articulate it in such a way of where it doesn't just become an opinion anymore. It becomes this piece of art, which is really amazing. And that's why I love reading Gene's stuff. I love reading my friend Tony Polanco's stuff. But I just knew, whenever I was writing the review for The Evil Within, that I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to cover games. I wanted to be able to not only get my opinion across, but also create stories within reviews, if that makes sense. Like, I wanted to create a meaningful piece, a meaningful article that could, that could maybe make up someone's mind about a game or a topic or whatever it is that I'm writing about, because I don't just write about game reviews. I currently am working on pieces for vampires in gaming and, the history of gaming. And there's so many different pieces that I'm currently working on. I just love journalism so much, and there are so many different types of writing styles under the umbrella of what is journalism. The next one from I Good Apollo is, what was the one article you enjoyed making the most? What about it made it stand out to you? So the one piece that I really enjoyed the most was writing Death Stranding. And Death Stranding for me was that turning point article in my career of where I finalized a writing style for myself, and where I finalized, okay, I know my writing is going to continue to evolve and grow, but I have a direction now, and I have this new way of approaching things, because Death Stranding is probably one of my longest reviews to date, and it's one I think honestly is one of my best reviews that I've ever done. And it was at such a crucial point in my life. I was going through a lot at that point when I wrote the review for Death Stranding. It was the first Sony game I had ever played. A lot of personal stuff was going on in my life. And it was one of the things of where I knew that game was a masterpiece at the time when everyone around me was calling it a walking simulator, something of where, it's boring. It's something that you shouldn't dive into. I was so... It got to a point of where, where you love something so much and you actually take things personally whenever you hear criticism about it and stuff. And that's to the point where I was getting with it. So I knew I had to okay, let me write down my thoughts and let me write this into a review. And I didn't do a gameplay through of it. I didn't do any of that stuff. I was going to originally, but my PC at the time could not handle playing Death Stranding and recording it at the same time on OBS. But now I can record it and do anything with it, no problem. I'm actually very tempted to do a playthrough of Death Stranding 2 when it comes out, but I haven't quite decided yet. The next question they sent over was, what's something you've always wanted to write about? I've always wanted to write an expose. I've always wanted to write an expose that could help the community in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I want to write an expose at some point. Have you ever gone back to a game you reviewed and found your thoughts on it changed? If so, were they better or worse? Did you write a follow-up piece to the original? This is okay. Perfect example for this is The Evil Within 2. I did not like that game and the way that it played out at first. I even did a playthrough of it. I loved doing the thumbnails for that game. There were a lot of things about it that I thoroughly enjoyed, and there were just things about it that I could not stand, like the continuation of the story. Where the fuck is Ruvik? Where is he? Where was Ruvik in that game? Why did it focus solely on the daughter? What was the purpose of focusing on his memories but not bringing Ruvik back into the mix? And then when I played the game all over again, I found that there is a ghost that can haunt you throughout different parts of the game. And it's probably one of the coolest things I've seen in terms of utilizing callbacks within a video game to reference the first game or another game in a franchise. So it was really cool to be able to see the ghost can haunt you throughout, but in the final phase of where it haunts you for the final time, it's showcasing memories that you experience from the very first Evil Within. So I think that was really amazing. And no, I did not write a follow-up piece to that, but I'm really tempted to, because there's a lot to cover with that. There's a lot to cover. I think I might actually replay the game and go over it again in a follow-up review, because that game, the second one, is something special. And the last one on his list is, what was the defining moment that made the Souls games stick with you? Smo and Ornstein. That boss battle was the one that made me know that, okay, I can do this. I'm enjoying the difficulty, and I know that for a fact I can beat any opponent that I come up against. The last grouping of questions is from Loco. Thank you so much for sending over these questions. I really appreciate it. So the questions that Loco asked is the first one, pros and benefits of primarily being a Souls creator and more niche, and why you took that move. So this is actually a really awesome question. The reason why, I'll start with why I went into that niche, was because I thought, okay, I really love these games, like a lot. Like, you guys know how much I love Souls and Souls-like content. And it started with me doing a series on Bloodborne, of where I was showing you guys how to parry Father Gascoigne. And as I was editing the video, I thought, wow, I really, really enjoy doing this. Like, I really enjoy doing these types of tutorial videos. And then I did a few videos when I started the series at first called Soulborn Academy. And I thought, okay, this is really cool, like diving into the psychology of souls and going into what it was to really, like, just the essence of the soul when it comes to humanities and when it comes to different concepts in the Souls game. I thought that, wow, this is really awesome. I'm really enjoying this. And it wasn't a full rebrand. It was like a little like mini rebrand, but I really enjoyed Souls games and Souls likes enough that I thought, you know what? I do game reviews. And I also do podcasts as well. So I thought there is going to be that variety that people still want, but it's going to still be niched down significantly to what I also truly enjoy besides the reviews and besides the podcasts. The benefits and pros, though, to switching over to a niche is that you're more searchable in the long run, and you have more of a dedicated, audience, more of like an audience that is catered to what you are teaching or what you are investing your time in when it comes to topics and everything. Because when it came to the channel before, I was doing game playthroughs on Hitman 3, I was doing it on Halo, I was doing it on just so many different games, and I was feeling burnt out and exhausted, and I didn't see the point of where things were going with the channel. And I thought there has to be some sort of direction going with the channel. Like, I was almost going on 8 years. What do I do in order to still do what I really enjoy, but also niche down in a way that is conducive to what I'm already doing on YouTube? And I thought, wow, okay, I love Souls games. I like doing reviews. I love doing the podcasts. So let me do kind of a triple threat kind of deal of where I can discuss the reviews. I can do the reviews and the journalism, but I can also do from time to time like podcasts here and there. But the main, the entree, the main dish is going to be Souls and Souls-like content, whether that be a walkthrough, a playthrough, or me teaching you how to parry, one of the characters in Bloodborne. So the second question is, what elements do you think all reviews should have in video games? Okay, the first thing should be critical analysis of why the game works and why it doesn't, i.e. mechanics, the way something might flow, any bugs that you might find, and those are absolutely crucial to have in a review. I feel like if you're not putting in, if there are any bugs or anything like that, you're doing a disservice to the audience that's reading or watching the review video. So yeah. You should always have another element that I really think that reviews should have is an element of praise, whether it be a game that you absolutely did not like or a game that you absolutely love. There should be a section of where you are giving the game the credit that it deserves. Here's another reminder. Games are not easy to make. They are fucking difficult to make. They are difficult. They are hard work. And even if you don't think the game was good, you should be giving it a little bit of praise. Even if it's just something like saying, I like the way the art direction is, or I like the narrative design, or I like the way in which the balance of motifs versus themes were. There's so many different things that you can compliment a game on and still be classy about it, have a level of decorum within the review. This is why I cannot stand clickbaity articles that have the title that's like, Dark Souls hates my mother. I don't know. And then you read the article and it has nothing to do with the title. Nothing to do with the title whatsoever. All reviews should have integrity. All reviews need to have elements of where you are honestly discussing the game. That's why whenever I get a game key sent to me, whether it's from Square Enix or any other company, I'm honestly reviewing the game from a standpoint of the consumer, of the player, of someone who plays all the games that they get sent to them. What are some other things that I want in the reviews? I know I don't talk about music as much as I should, but there should be some level of audio design discussion. And I know I need, me personally, I know I need to discuss it more in my reviews. I just don't, because more of my reviews focus on the psychology and story of the game. Let's see, what else? So if you have different elements in your reviews, like the story or psychology or motifs, the way the mechanics work, all of this, it should be balanced. Like you need to have a certain level of sense when you're writing that, okay, I've written enough about this, now comes in the next topic. I mean, let's just be real here. No one's going to read a 10-page paper on why you think Lady Dimitrescu's mommy milkers are the best. Like, there might be some weirdos out there who are going to read that, but for the most part, people want an honest, balanced review, and those elements are crucial in order to make someone's purchasing decision. You know, if people aren't worried about spoilers, and if people aren't worried about what kind of what kind of opinion you have, you could have hated the game, but they're still going to get the game and test it out for themselves. That's great. That's honest. That right there. If people understand that, you know, your job as a journalist is not to convince people whether you should buy the game or not. It's to give honest critique and honest praise about a game that you have reviewed and you have just played. So those are elements that are very much needed in game reviews. And the last one is, what Souls villain would you like to play as if they got their own game? I mean, Artorias, come on, you guys know what I'm going to say already. But I want to go a little more original than my typical Artorias answer. If it is a Souls villain, oh God, there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones, like the Nameless King. I haven't even fought the Nameless King yet. Honestly, if they got their own DLC, the Soul of Cinder, I would honestly, I would, like the final boss that you face in Dark Souls 3, I would love to see that as a playable character in a DLC, story-based. Oh my gosh, that would be, I think I got kind of emotional there for a second. That would be incredible. I would love to see that so much. So I really appreciate you guys with all the questions and really awesome things were sent in. I really appreciate you guys so much. That was it for the questions for this Q&A. I hope you guys got to know me, just a little bit better. But yeah, I honestly, I love getting these kinds of questions. Really cool, really insightful, really just awesome stuff. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love that. It's just so cool. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and being a part of the channel. And I think we might actually make it to 5,000 subscribers this year. But if you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.